to Diligent Canine, and in this video I'm going to show how I taught my dog to stay or to stop when walking, and then how to add that stay onto a sit or down command. So for this command, for the teaching phase of stay command, I am going to use either a leash and a collar or a slip lead like I have here. I've talked in some other videos how slip leads can be a little dangerous when you have big strong dogs, where they can hurt themselves and cause damage to their throat and windpipe. But for the purposes of this video, it is really helpful because it applies pressure and direction, which is helpful in teaching the dog then. So there's a little bit of punishment involved, that is a little bit of constriction around their neck. I'll explain that as I go through it. I'm not correcting the dog though when this happens. It's sort of auto-correcting, and again, this will make more sense in a minute. But while I'm walking with the dog and I give a stay command and the collar tightens up around, the leash tightens around their neck, then the dog, obviously if they keep moving, there is a consequence to that, and that is that there is more and more pressure. But if they stop and stay, then I mark and reward. So that builds a pretty clear picture in the dog's mind of what happens. If you see my videos on corrections, the differences between punishment and corrections, this is an example of that, where you may start with a punishing consequence, so that is the constriction on the neck, but it redirects the dog to a reward. In this case, stop moving and you get a reward. So let's take a look at that. So I've got my slip lead on my dog here, and I'm going to give him a walk command. In my case, that's let's go. And when he starts to walk, I'll give him a stay command. In my case, it's German, it's Bleib. But again, you can use stop, stay, anything you want. I've explained that before as well, as long as you remain consistent with the command, and then the principles used to teach the behavior are the same. So just to recap, we'll start to walk with the dog, I'll give the command, and I will stop moving, which will cause pressure to be applied around the dog's neck by the slip lead, and the dog, if he stops, will receive a reward. And it's kind of like double down, because the pressure around the neck will stop, or at least not get worse. Obviously, if you keep pulling, the pressure gets worse. But I'm in the controlled environment at my home here, which kind of eliminates a lot of variables. It eliminates the concern about the dog choosing, no, I don't care about getting hurt, I still want to get at that thing, whatever it is that they may be pulling at. So again, I'm in my teaching environment here, where I can add or remove stimulation as needed. Let's go. Bleib. Yes. I'll do it again here. Let's go. Bleib. Yes. Let's try and get him to walk a little more. He's kind of waiting for a different command. Let's go. I think he thinks that we are healing, so let me try from a different angle towards the door. Let's go. Let's go. Bleib. Yes. Adjust the camera angle. Let's go. Bleib. Yes. One more time. Let's go. Bleib. Yes. So you can see there that no pressure was applied around the neck. If you pause the video, rewind, look close, you'll see that the lead is so loose, it's back here on his shoulder, so it's not even pulling on his neck. And this is kind of a self-rewarding progression. That stepwise process becomes built in just by the laws of physics. So as the dog learns the behavior better and better, there's less and less pressure required to get them to, less and less pressure from the leash or the collar required to get them to stop, and then eventually there's really no pressure at all. So I'm sure you could see in the video that the leash was pretty limp in my hand, and as I said, the part of the leash, the slip lead that goes around the neck, was all the way back on his shoulder, so it wasn't squeezing his neck at all. Let's get into how to add a stay behavior onto another behavior, such as a sit or a down. Now, the way that I showed let's get into how to add a stay behavior onto an existing behavior, such as a sit or a down. Now, in the context that I showed how to teach a stay behavior, that was in association with walking, which of course you can add different degrees of stimulation to very easily when you're teaching in your living room or garage, to walking in front of your house, to walking down the street, then around the neighborhood, etc., etc. So you can add some difficulty there, and you can also start to add these behaviors together. And this is particularly useful when you want your dog to sit and stay put, sit and stay. Same thing with the down. Now, there is a whole training franchise geared towards one command, one behavior, and they're very successful. However, people move, people do things, so it is very, very helpful, not just in a sport context, but also in a behavior context of when I tell my dog to sit or down, I want them to remain in that position, in that location, until I either tell you that you're free, and that is that I give you a terminal marker saying you're done, come get your reward, or until I give you a command to do something else. And that is very important because dogs are notoriously terribly bad decision makers. So if you leave a dog to make decisions on its own, bad things are going to happen. It's really just a matter of when. So rather, I want to teach my dog that when I give you a command, you continue to hold and to do that thing until I either mark you to say that you're done or I command you to do something else. So when we start to teach these behaviors, your dog of course needs to know the sit or the down first. So like I just mentioned, my dog has learned that when I give you a command, it means keep doing that thing until I tell you to do something else. So once your dog learns how to sit and they've learned how to stay, you can start to add those things together. So you command your dog to sit, and while they're seated, you command them to stay, and then after a brief duration, you mark and reward. So what will happen then is eventually you can phase out the stay command. You won't need to say that because when you command your dog to sit, they will anticipate that there is a stay command to follow. Obviously, there needs to be many, many, many repetitions built into this. And just like you might add stimulation to increase the difficulty of the obedience and attention span required of your dog, you can also really gradually increase the duration that you require them to stay. And it is important to vary that duration. So just like I've talked about in some other videos, or in terms of rewarding and having a variable reward system, then you also need to vary the duration of something like a stay or any kind of like command of duration. Healing is another example of this, so that the dog isn't discouraged by anticipating a long wait for a reward or a long heel for a reward. They get excited by some short rewards mixed in there where they might only have to stay for 2 or 3 seconds, or they might only have to heel for 1 or 2 steps, right? And when you vary that process, it keeps the dog guessing and it keeps them very excited. It's like a slot machine for the dog rather than a vending machine where you get $1 for 1 Coke. It's always the same. You want to keep the dog guessing. Like a slot machine. That's why gambling makes a ton of money, because you keep playing, you might hit a jackpot, you might win a little bit, but most of the time you're not going to win anything at all. But we know that's part of the game, that's why we play, and you can use a similar mentality to teach your dog then. So let's look at that. I'm going to tell my dog to come, sits, tell him to sit, tell him to stay, live. And let some duration go by. Yes. Mark and reward. Again, come. 5. Good. Wait a little bit longer. Yes. Seats. And I can wait and start to move around a little bit myself. This builds duration to the command. I can walk behind the dog, walk in a circle here, behind the dog. Again, all this is adding duration and distraction to the obedience. Yes. Another way that you can practice this, seats, live, is you can start to run. Oh, you can see that got some excitement out of him. Sits, live. And you can start to move a little quicker and try to incite some of their drive reflexes just to test the obedience and see how the dog will respond. I've got a little cap gun over here, which Dean absolutely hates. I don't have any of the cap gun rounds in it, so it just kind of snaps, doesn't even bang. But you could do this. Yes. You could have a jug of rocks. Those hand clappers you can get at the dollar store, make really good distractions. All these kinds of things can be built together in our tools in your toolbox. Come. So you can also use the same principles for a down. Platz. Live. And I'm using the stay command here for a demonstration, so you guys can see. I'm walking around behind the dog. Yes. But eventually you won't need to do that because I can command my dog to down or sit, and he will stay because I've built those repetitions in. Place. Platz. I can tell him to down like that, and he will stay. Lots of sports have a down and stay required in them. I know for sure Schutzhund does, PSA does. I don't know for certain without looking at the rule book, but I can't imagine ring sports don't have some sort of down and stay, or they do have motion exercises for sure. I do remember that, and I'll get into that in another video. But you can see that this is pretty important. It's very helpful behavior, not just for showing off or making videos, but I might have to put my dog in a down or tell him to sit while I go do something, or I have to walk to my car, something like that. So it teaches them impulse control. It teaches them to remain focused on you, and all of this builds up to the dog wanting to listen to you, because rather than leave him to his own devices and be distracted by what's ever going on in the environment, he's waiting for me to give the cue, either that you're done, come get your reward, or do this other command. Yes. So that'll do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to subscribe and support military and working dogs on patreon.com/diligentcanine.